Hey guys, Whitney here. Hope you guys had a fantastic holiday weekend, and I'm so excited to talk about today's topic. I'm going to give it just a minute for everybody to file into the room here. If this is your first time joining us for the Passive Investing Made Simple show, welcome. We do this weekly live webinar to help you understand the ins and outs of passive investing so you can go into your first or next deal with confidence. So make sure to check out passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. There, if you haven't already, I've got some special goodies for you, ebook and a checklist on how to get involved in passive investing. You can also schedule time with me on my calendar, and we can talk about all things real estate, and you can also see our open deals. Now, I'm pretty sure we're going to have kind of a small group today because it's just a couple days after Christmas holiday. A lot of people are on vacation this week, but this topic is super important because what we are talking about today is what happens after you actually make your passive investment. You see, you're putting in a lot of time and effort to understand your investing goals, your risk tolerance, to vet operators, vet markets, vet deals, and once you write that check, what happens next? Okay, so today we are going to kind of demystify that process for us. Now, the biggest thing here that happens after a passive deal is understanding all the various touch points on communication. Now, communication is extremely important in any partnership. And partnership can be, essentially relationship. It could be, you and a spouse, you and a spousal partner. It can be with your kids. It can be with a business partner. It can be anything. And the same thing exists here in passive investing, is making sure that you have very clear lines of communication open. Now, I know the title of the webinar says what to do after, what happens after the deal closes, but that key of communication actually starts before the deal closes. All right, and everybody has a responsibility, the operator as well as you as the limited partner. So, the operator's role in communication is really to help you, just like as if you're a business partner, because the operator and you are business partners, keeping you apprised of all major happenings on the property. Now, it may not be all minutiae detail, but all major happenings on the property. And that includes before the deal actually closes. Okay, if it's a piece of real estate, what is the appraisal? If it's a multifamily property, is the operator doing a tenant analysis on the property? What did they find there? How did due diligence close? Is the bank closing for the loan still on time? If closings move all the time, and if the closing is going to move, are they communicating to you when now is the asset going to close, and why is the closing being moved? So again, the operator's role is to keep you informed even before the deal closes, what is happening with the deal. Now, you as the limited partner also have a vital role in this communication, because communication is not just one way, it's two-way. Okay, again, like in any relationship, and that is you as the limited partner needs to stay apprised of any deal communication that's hitting your inbox. Now, I know today everybody's inboxes are so inundated in complete overflow. What I do for all my deal communication is I have a passive deals inbox or label in my Gmail, and any deal that I'm in, I tag it, I make sure it filters and it goes into that inbox. And then maybe once or twice a week, I'm checking that like little tag box to making sure that I am staying abreast of what all is happening on the properties that I'm invested in. Now, that's your role as a limited partner, because sometimes in these communications, there might be things that the operator is calling out, as well as requests that they need from you. Maybe it's tax time, information update requests. That's coming up right now in January. It's probably already happened, I know, for some of my deals. Operators are making requests of you as a limited partner to update your tax information. Okay, so your role is to read all communication that's coming to you. So again, that little hack, just to kind of put a pretty bow on it, is make sure that you are creating a tagged filter for any deals and checking that at least once a week, a couple times a month minimum, to make sure that you're reading all those emails that are coming in. Now, let's talk about what actually the good communication looks like after the deal closes. Because, again, this relationship starts beforehand, but we also want to, want you to understand as a limited partner what happens after the deal closes. And first thing, you want to know immediately the day the asset closes. Okay, an operator should send you an announcement within 24 hours after the deal closes. And that's cause for celebration, okay? There's been so much work to get that asset across the finish line. So, look for that email the day the deal closes. If the deal does not close on the day and the operator hasn't been keeping you abreast of what's going on, reach out to the operator and ask, like, hey, I was expecting this deal to close today. Did it close? If not, why? All right. In that closing email, an operator should also send you what they call something like an investor guide. And in that investor guide, it should be kind of a summation of the returns and the expectations that you that you're expecting from the deal for year one. And it should also tell you what is the communication timeline moving forward, and also when to expect your K1. Okay, and the last piece of information you should expect in that investor guide is, if you have any questions, who do you reach out to? Okay, it's not all the time hit reply. Okay, sometimes there's an investor services email, like if you have questions regarding banking, or maybe investor relations email if you have questions about the deal. Okay, now also in this email, you should see some sort of notation on when to expect when distributions should start. Okay, and that will vary from deal to deal, operator to operator, but that also should be in that closing email. Okay, again, so you know what to expect next. Now, after that, communication is generally going to come monthly. All right, and it'll just be form of a quick email with just some key updates. Usually with like if you're looking at multifamily deals or self-storage, what's the occupancy? Maybe, clue you into like marketing and branding, things that are happening on the property. Maybe if it's a value add deal, any construction updates for the property, but that should be coming on a monthly basis. All right. Now, this is just regular communications. If there's something quasi major that has happened, but it is not actually a crisis type communication, you can expect that type of update in the monthly email. And then on a quarterly basis, you should expect to get like a profit and loss statement and a rent roll. Okay, because again, the general partner and the limited partners, you guys are partners, right? So you should be kept abreast of what the financials are. Now, I know not all operators do this. This is what we do. We send out the actual profit and loss statement from the property management company. Okay, so you're seeing exactly what we're getting as far as the profit and loss statement. Okay, it may not be the full CAM report, like every single individual transaction, but that condensed statement from the property manager. Okay, so I would, make sure that you're getting access to that type of information, at least on a quarterly basis, and reviewing it. If you have questions, ask. All right. And, you can also probably expect to get some sort of rent roll, especially if it's a multifamily property. Again, you're a partner, you're a part owner in the asset. You should be getting information on who is actually there at the property, who's paying rent. All right, and then on an annual basis, you can expect to receive a K1. That's a tax document. Now, guys, we're recording this at the end of December. We've already kicked off the 2022 tax season, okay, which starts in Q1 2023. So again, remember those emails are coming out to investors to update your tax information in various portals. Make sure that the right entities are notated, the right EINs are there. Right mailing addresses, everything's correct. That way, whenever we get down to actually filing taxes, there's not any issues or delays. The last thing you want is to get your K1 middle to end of March, and then all of a sudden realize, oh, I I, as the investor, transcribed the EIN number incorrectly, and I need to get that corrected, because getting that corrected at the end of March is going to take some time. All right. So again, that's annually. Now, for those of you who are new to passive investing, again, you should expect your K1s to come out generally, at least from us here at passiveinvesting.com, in March timeline. Okay. We'd like to get our K1s out as soon as possible so investors can still file their taxes, in April. Okay. I'll work with their accounting team to get those filed in April. Now, not all operators are like that. Like if they have more institutional investors, not so much retail investors, their tax filing timeline is very different. They don't have to file taxes until October 15th. Okay, they can file extensions, and they often do. So, just that's something that you can ask your operator whenever you are vetting them initially. Hey, when do you guys usually give out K1s? Now, here's the thing. I always say, don't let the tax tail wag the dog. Because if it's a good deal and you're not going to get your K1 until October, that's where you're going to work with your accounting team to just file an extension so you get your, you can actually file your K1 later, okay, with your taxes. All right, it's not as big of a deal. It's just, you don't want to get surprised by that. Okay, most people aren't used to extending their tax filing deadline, but it's really fairly simple to do with your accounting team. All right, so those are just kind of the basic expectations of what happens right when a deal closes. Okay, now things happen. All right, what happens when bad things go wrong on a property? When a hurricane hits, or you have mass power line failures, infrastructure failures, and there's heavy freezing and ice issues, water damage on a property. What happens when a tree falls on a property and takes out, several units? What happens if there is, sewage outbreaks or water, what am I trying to say here, guys? Plumbing issues on a property. Now, these are not all issues that I'm talking from my personal experience. Me being as a passive investor too, I have invested in deals where all of those things have happened. Okay. Now, this is where I really appreciate operators that have amazing communication. Okay. And especially crisis communication, because, for us as partners, we're not in the day-to-day operations. We're not seeing what's going on. So what happens in that type of crisis situation? All right. It's super easy for me as an investor to go, oh no, am I going to get distributions? Are they going to be paused? What's going to happen? Okay. However, I need to give the operator a little bit of space because they're dealing with a crisis. Okay. And they're thinking of a lot of other things on that property. And let me kind of walk you through this so you understand. Okay. So the first thing is to make sure, the operator is going to make sure that the tenants and the staff on the property during a crisis, that they're safe. Okay. They're going to try to, if they can get ahead of it as much as possible, they will. In the case of a hurricane, we generally know when hurricanes are going to make landfall. And so we're trying to make sure all of the tenants are going to be safe, the staff's going to be safe, that all of the property, miscellaneous items like pool furniture and anything that could go flying around is locked down, or put away. All right. We're trying to limit damage as much as possible. But after the crisis is passed, we're going to make sure that the tenants and staff, number one, are safe, okay, and that they're taken care of. And then the next step for an operator is for them to assess damage, okay? They need to go in and do a full damage assessment, potentially with the insurance brokers or insurance providers, insurance agents, and file any sort of claims, okay? So they can get repair going. Now, for us, when we have a crisis situation, we are actually covered for loss of income on the property as well. So that is, kind of, for people who are wondering, oh my gosh, our distribution is going to be paused if there's X crisis happening. In most cases, we are going to be able to claim loss of income and get that made back up. All right. And then The third step is, once we got step 1 and step 2, the third step is ongoing mitigation, meaning we are going to continue to work with our insurance providers and with boots on the ground, construction team and property management to get the property back up into repair as quickly as possible and get our tenants back into the units as safely and quickly as possible. All right, so that's kind of what to expect when a crisis happens. Now, aside from, now we talked about the communication piece, right? The crisis communication is going to look a little different. Okay. A good operator is going to say, hey, we know this thing's coming. Maybe it's a hurricane or a potential storm. This is what we've done on the property. Storm hits and passes. That now the operator is going to reach back out to you and say, okay, this is what we found on the property and this is what we're doing about it. Any further communication, you could probably expect those follow-ups to happen now on a monthly basis. Now, as a limited partner, I encourage you to read all those emails and reach out to if you have any questions. And if you have any questions in between emails, certainly do that as well. Again, because you are in partnership with that operator and general partner. All right. All right. So that's kind of what to expect on, in this kind of crisis communication bucket. Now, there's one other expectation that I want you as a limited partner to understand of what happens after the deal closes. And this is always generally, for the most part, our favorite part as a limited partner investor, is certainly as an operator as well, is what happens when the property repositions, okay? And so, and in this case, I'm talking about selling, because that's another time that the operator is going to reach out to you and ask you to partake in a survey of some sort. So, and this can happen a couple different ways. The operator can reach out to you and say, hey, we have the property under contract. We've identified a new asset that we want to 1031 into. Do you want to 1030 along with us? Yes or no? Okay, so that's where, that's the ideal situation, is the property is under contract to sell. They're pretty far into due diligence. There's another asset under contract that you get to see before committing to a 1031. Everybody's happy. Now, 1031s sometimes are not as easy to pull off. So sometimes what will happen is the operator will reach out and say, hey, listen, we have the property under contract and we want a 1031 into another property, but we don't have that under contract yet. Do you want a 1031? Okay, they might give you an idea of a location or where they're looking, maybe some sort of profile of return that they're aiming for. You're still fully in the know. Now, sometimes you can commit to a 1031 and actually have no idea what the property is going to be, because the operator can actually has 45 days post close to actually 1030 or identify the asset to 1031 into. Okay, now those are all things that you need to be communicating to the operator and letting them know what your thought process is in that repositioning situation. All right. Anyways, long story short, that's probably the last piece, throughout the deal timeline, that you need to play a heavy role in your management of your passive asset. All right, guys, I know we've covered a lot here. I want to go back and just give you a quick summation of what we covered on what you can expect as a passive investor once you have closed on a passive deal. Okay, number one, make sure that the operator is continuing to communicate with you before closing everything that's happening on the property. All right, number two, immediately upon closing the deal, that you're getting the necessary information to know what to expect next. Okay, that we like communicating through investor guides and letting our limited partners know what the communication timeline is and when distributions will start. Okay, number three, you're going to get monthly updates, okay? Or make sure you understand when your updates are going to come. Number four, understand when the financials are going to come and what kind of financials you're going to get purview to. All right, number five, understand when you're going to get your tax forms, okay? And what are the timelines for that, okay? You might actually, have to participate in providing tax information a lot sooner. Number 6, watch out for ongoing communication around any sort of crisis that could be happening on the property. Okay, weather-related events. I know so many people were so impacted by this bomb cyclone that just hit the United States this past week. So, things like that. Like if you have properties, in the path of some of these storms, just keep an eye out for your inbox. That's why I like using that little tagging hack. And it can really save you a lot of time and ensure that you don't miss any communication. And then number 7, watch out for any repositioning communication. All right, any sales or anything like that, that's generally going to be noted in your monthly updates. And, you'll probably have like one monthly update that comes to you before you actually have to answer the question, yes or no, and are you going to participate in a 1031 exchange? All right, guys. As always, it is so much fun to hang with you guys today. I wanted to make sure I kept today's topic to the point and, get you guys in and out in a timely fashion. If you have any questions of me, feel free to reach out to me at whitney@passiveinvesting.com. There you can, or at passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. There you can get access to additional masterclasses such as this, and also hop on my schedule for if you guys want to talk about real estate.